Other Minds, The Octopus, the Sea, and the Deep Origins of Consciousness by Peter Godfrey-Smith. Picture yourself weightless, suspended in a silent world of blue-green light. You're snorkeling in a quiet Sydney Bay, sunlight dancing through the water above you. Something moves beneath a rocky ledge, something unexpectedly large, and you take a breath and dive down for a closer look. What you discover seems pulled straight from another dimension. It resembles an octopus fused with a turtle, sporting a prominent head and 8 sinuous arms lined with suckers that flow directly from its body. A delicate, rippling skirt fringes its back, but the colors? They absolutely steal your breath. The creature radiates every hue simultaneously: red, gray, blue-green, with veins of silver pulsing like illuminated power lines. Patterns bloom and vanish across its skin in less than a heartbeat. This is a giant cuttlefish, roughly 3 feet long. It hovers just inches above the seafloor, watching you intently. And as you dive again and again, holding your breath until your chest screams for air, something profound dawns on you. This creature seems just as fascinated by you as you are by it. This isn't merely an animal tolerating an intrusion. This is genuine engagement, a meeting between two minds. This exact encounter happened to Peter Godfrey-Smith, a philosopher and passionate scuba diver, sparking the incredible journey that became his book, Other Minds. This isn't your typical nature documentary in book form. It's a detective story reaching back 600 million years to unravel one of existence's greatest puzzles, the origin of consciousness itself. Godfrey-Smith presents a revolutionary proposition. What if evolution, through sheer chance and circumstance, constructed a complex, intelligent mind not once, but twice, along completely separate evolutionary highways? One path led to us, vertebrates, mammals, primates. The other produced the cephalopods, octopuses, cuttlefish, and squid. They represent, as he brilliantly puts it, probably the closest we will come to meeting an intelligent alien. Today, we're diving deep into that alien world. We'll journey back to the very beginning of animal life, witness the evolutionary fork that separated our ancestors from theirs, and explore the bizarre, brilliant architecture of the octopus mind. By journey's end, you won't simply see these creatures as peculiar deep-sea dwellers. You'll recognize them as evolution's second, completely independent answer to the question, how do you build a mind? And in understanding them, you might just understand your own consciousness in ways you never imagined possible. Our story doesn't begin with a meeting, but with a departure. A separation that unfolded in murky ancient oceans roughly 600 million years ago. Imagine a creature, perhaps no larger than a few millimeters, shaped like a tiny, flattened worm. It possessed a rudimentary nervous system, and maybe some light-sensitive patches, serving as primitive eyes. Nothing remarkable, really. Just one among countless life forms drifting through the primordial sea. Yet this humble creature holds enormous significance in our story, because it represents the last common ancestor connecting you, me, and an octopus. From this single point, the magnificent tree of animal life split in two. One path began an evolutionary odyssey that would eventually produce fish, then reptiles, birds, mammals, and ultimately, us. We call this the vertebrate lineage. The other path led to the sprawling world of invertebrates, insects, crabs, snails, and worms. Generally, animals along this branch developed more modest nervous systems. But there was one spectacular exception. Within a group called the mollusks, a radical new experiment began. This marked the birth of the cephalopods. They became an island of mental complexity in the vast ocean of invertebrate life. So if we want to understand their minds, we can't rely on shared ancestry or evolutionary kinship. We must see them for what they truly are, an independent experiment in developing large brains and complex behavior. Evolution, remarkably, built sophisticated minds twice over. To grasp this second mind, we first need to understand the world that shaped it. For most of Earth's history, life remained a single-celled enterprise. But even these microscopic organisms weren't passively drifting. A simple bacterium like E. coli possesses something like taste or smell. It can navigate toward nutrients and away from toxins. It has primitive memory, comparing current conditions to moments before. It solves the problem of navigating space by cleverly using time. Eventually, some single cells began living together, forming the first multi-celled organisms, the first animals. This brought a novel challenge: coordination. When you're a single cell, action is straightforward. But when you're a body comprising millions of cells, how do you synchronize all your parts to achieve coherent, unified action? Enter the nervous system. Think of it this way. A nervous system fundamentally solves two problems. First, linking what you sense to what you do. A lookout in a tower spots approaching enemies and signals the rider below to respond. This is the sensory-motor function. But there's a second, more fundamental challenge. Imagine a rowing crew. If everyone rows whenever they feel like it, the boat just spins uselessly. They need someone calling the stroke, coordinating individual actions into one powerful unified movement. This is the action-shaping function. For a long stretch, life in the oceans remained peaceful. During the Ediacaran period, the seafloor resembled a tranquil garden. Animals existed, some several feet long, but they didn't do much. No claws, no armor, no obvious weapons. There's virtually no evidence of predation. Life unfolded as a slow, self-contained existence. During this era, the first nervous systems likely focused primarily on that second problem, simply coordinating the body, helping these strange, soft creatures crawl and maintain their rhythms. Then everything transformed. Around 542 million years ago, the Cambrian explosion ignited a biological arms race. The peaceful garden became a battlefield. Predation became life's central fact. Animals began evolving in direct response to other animals. When one creature develops better armor, another evolves superior armor-piercing capabilities. Crucial to this transformed world was sophisticated sense evolution, especially eyes. For the first time, animals could perceive each other from a distance. The world flooded with information. When a yard-long predator swoops toward you, you need immediate awareness and instant evasive action. Brains evolved to process this information deluge and direct complex, high-stakes behavior. From this point forward, minds evolved in response to other minds. In this new, dangerous world, octopus ancestors took a radical evolutionary gamble. Like other mollusks, their initial predation response was growing hard, protective shells. For millions of years they lived like limpets, crawling along the sea floor. But then some did something remarkable. They filled their shells with gas, transforming them into buoyancy devices. They lifted off the seafloor and entered open water. A limpet became a living zeppelin. Once floating, the muscular foot, previously used for crawling, was freed up. Part evolved into a jet propulsion siphon, while the other part flowered into grasping tentacles. They became fearsome predators, some reaching over 18 feet long, terrors of the ancient seas. For hundreds of millions of years, this defined cephalopod existence. But as fish grew larger, faster, and smarter, shelled cephalopods were outcompeted. All went extinct, with one exception, the nautilus, a living fossil still drifting through the Pacific. But another group took an even bigger evolutionary gamble. Before the dinosaur age, some cephalopods began abandoning their shells entirely. This was an incredible risk, leaving them soft, vulnerable, and exposed. But it granted unparalleled movement freedom. The octopus, losing its shell completely, became a body of pure possibility. With virtually no hard parts besides its beak and eyes, it can squeeze through openings the size of its eyeball. It can transform its shape, texture, and color instantaneously. This body, so flexible, so vulnerable, so brimming with potential, is key to understanding the octopus mind. Controlling such a body, one capable of nearly infinite movement variations, requires immense neural processing. This likely explains their enormous nervous systems. A common octopus possesses about 500 million neurons, more than a rat, comparable to a dog. But here's where things get truly alien. The majority of those neurons, nearly 2/3, aren't in its brain, they're in its arms. Each arm possesses something like its own mind. A surgically removed arm can still perform basic reaching and grasping motions. The suckers covering its arms are packed with chemical receptors. An octopus can taste and smell through touch alone. So how does an octopus control itself? It appears to be a hybrid system, blending centralized, top-down brain commands with localized, bottom-up arm decisions. The brain might issue general commands like, reach for that crab, but individual arms handle fine details, exploring and feeling their way there. It's as if the central brain conducts a jazz orchestra, where each player brilliantly improvises. The conductor provides direction, but trusts musicians to fill in the notes. Watching an octopus reveals this strange mix of deliberation and autonomy. It might cautiously extend a single arm to investigate something strange. That's you, while its large eyes watch intently. This suggests deliberate, brain-guided action. But other times, its arms seem to wander with independent purpose. If you were an octopus, you would, to some degree, guide your arms, and to some degree, simply watch them operate. Your own body would be partly you, and partly a collection of intelligent, semi-independent agents. This alien neurology produces truly remarkable intelligence. In laboratories, octopuses navigate mazes and unscrew jars for food, but their unscripted, often mischievous behavior truly reveals their minds. There's the famous story from a German lab of an octopus named Otto, who learned he could short-circuit an annoyingly bright overhead light by squirting water at it. This became so expensive they had to release him back to the wild. Then there was Charles, an octopus in a 1950s learning experiment. While his tank mates, Albert and Bertram, politely pulled a lever for food rewards, Charles chose a different approach. He repeatedly bent the lever with such force, he eventually broke it, ending the experiment. He also disliked the lamp above his tank and tried pulling it into the water. Most famously, he developed a habit of waiting until experimenters approached, then poking his eyes above water and shooting powerful water jets directly at them. Scientist Peter Godfrey-Smith noted dryly in his paper, "The variables responsible for the maintenance and strengthening of the squirting behavior in this animal were not apparent." Charles wasn't learning a task, he was expressing personality. Octopuses show surprising ability to recognize individual humans, even in identical uniforms. One octopus in a New Zealand lab took a dislike to a particular staff member and would drench her with water every time she passed. Conversely, they can display startling curiosity. A diver, Matt Lawrence, once had an octopus gently take his hand and lead him on a 10-minute seafloor tour, ending at the octopus's den. Perhaps most telling is a story from researcher Jean Boll. She was feeding her octopuses thawed squid, which they don't particularly enjoy. One day, passing a tank, she noticed an octopus waiting for her. It hadn't eaten its food. Instead, it held the squid piece conspicuously. As Boll watched, the octopus slowly carried the squid across the tank to the outflow drain, maintaining eye contact the entire time, then deliberately pushed the squid down the drain, an unmistakable gesture of distaste. This isn't simple machine behavior, this is mischief and craft. It's curious, exploratory, and flexible intelligence. While octopuses master shape-shifting, their cousins, the cuttlefish, are color masters. A giant cuttlefish is a living, breathing artwork. Its skin is a high-resolution screen connected directly to its brain. This screen comprises millions of tiny, pigment-filled sacs called chromatophores, each surrounded by muscles. When the brain sends signals, these muscles instantly expand or contract sacs, revealing or hiding their color. There are layers for red, yellow, and brown. But that's only part of the story. Beneath this layer lie other cells acting like tiny iridescent mirrors, reflecting light to create blues, greens, and shimmering silvers, colors the chromatophores can't produce alone. The result is a creature producing not just static patterns, but moving displays, like clouds passing across its skin. They use this incredible ability for camouflage so perfect it can fool actively searching humans. They use it for startling displays to confuse predators. And they use it for complex communication with each other, especially during mating rituals, where males engage in elaborate dances of color and posture. Yet here's one of biology's deepest mysteries. As far as we can determine, cephalopods are colorblind. Their eyes contain only one photoreceptor type, which should, by all accounts, allow them to see only in grayscale. How can they master an art form they cannot perceive? How do they match background colors so perfectly if they can't see color? For years, this paradox baffled scientists. But recent discoveries offer a mind-bending possibility. It turns out the light-sensitive proteins found in their eyes are also present throughout their skin. In 2015, researchers showed that octopus skin patches, completely detached from the animal, could still react to light by changing chromatophore shapes. In other words, an octopus can, in some sense, see with its skin. This doesn't fully solve the colorblindness puzzle, but it opens fascinating possibilities. Perhaps by rapidly changing the color filters, the chromatophores, in its top skin layer, and monitoring how light changes on light-sensitive cells below, the animal can deduce incoming light colors. It would be like a photographer swapping colored filters in front of a black and white camera to determine scene colors. But beyond camouflage and signaling, there seems another dimension to their color changes. Sometimes they appear to be inadvertent broadcasts of inner states, a chromatic chatter, revealing the electrical tumult within their brains. Godfrey-Smith describes watching a cuttlefish at rest, seemingly half asleep, cycling through a symphony of complex color chords, as if dreaming in color. This brings us to the ultimate question. With all this complexity, the distributed brain, the intelligent arms, the skin that sees, the complex behaviors, what does it actually feel like to be an octopus? Is there subjective experience, an inner life, or is it all darkness inside? This is consciousness's great mystery. Philosophers have two main evolutionary perspectives. The latecomer view suggests subjective experience is recent, a product of highly complex, integrated brains, like those in mammals and some birds. On this view, a frog or fish might display complex behaviors, but there's nothing it feels like to be them. The alternative is the transformation view. This proposes that basic subjective experience is very old and widespread in the animal kingdom. It might have started as simple, undifferentiated white noise, a background buzz of being alive. Then, as nervous systems complexified, this basic experience transformed. It became more integrated, refined, and structured. Pain, for instance, seems very ancient. Experiments show fish, and even crabs behave in flexible, non-reflexive ways to avoid pain, suggesting they genuinely feel it. The octopus seems to challenge any simple answer. Its intelligence is undeniable, its behavior flexible and curious. But its mind is so decentralized. Does the central brain have unified experience? Or is the octopus a federation of conscious parts? We may never know for certain, but to watch one is to sense a subject, an individual experiencing its world. There's one final, poignant twist to the cephalopod mind story. These large-brained, intelligent, curious animals live incredibly brief lives. Most octopuses and cuttlefish survive only 1 or 2 years. The giant Pacific octopus, the largest species, might reach 4. What's the point of building such magnificent, expensive brains only for them to vanish in such short time? What's the use of learning about the world if you have no time to apply that knowledge? The answer, again, lies in evolution. An organism's lifespan is a trade-off, tuned by its environment. If you live a very risky life, with high predation chances at any moment, evolution doesn't favor long-term survival strategies. It favors a live fast, die young approach. It's better to grow quickly, reproduce once in a massive burst, and invest all energy in that single genetic legacy. This is the price the octopus paid for abandoning its shell. The same evolutionary move granting it a body of pure possibility also made it exquisitely vulnerable. This vulnerability set its biological clock ticking at frantic pace. Their lives are rich in experience but incredibly compressed. But what if things were different? What if they had a safe harbor? In a bay in eastern Australia, a single piece of metal junk dropped on the seafloor decades ago started a strange chain reaction. An octopus made it its den. It ate scallops and left shells behind. The shell pile provided building material for other octopuses to make dens. More octopuses brought more scallops, creating more shells, allowing even more dens. Over years, this positive feedback loop created an underwater city, a dense octopus settlement scientists named Octopolis. Here, in this crowded, human-made environment, octopuses behave in rarely seen ways. They're intensely social. There are constant interactions, fights, chases, and signaling. An aggressive male will turn dark and rise in a threatening Nosferatu pose. A submissive octopus will become pale or show blotchy patterns. They seem to navigate a complex social world. Octopolis glimpses another possible evolutionary path. It shows what happens when these curious, intelligent animals are placed in contexts demanding social navigation. It's a place where their minds constantly engage not just with their physical environment, but with other minds. It's a tantalizing look at what the octopus might have become if its evolutionary story had gone just slightly differently. Peter Godfrey-Smith's Other Minds is more than just a fascinating book about sea creatures. It's a profound meditation on intelligence's nature and consciousness's miracle. It takes you on a journey so deep into the past that you emerge with a completely new perspective on the present moment and on the mind you use to perceive it. The most powerful lesson, for me, is the humbling realization that our way of being isn't the only way. We humans live inside our heads, in a world shaped by endless inner monologue. Our thoughts are often structured by language. The octopus shows us a completely different model. Its mind isn't just in its head. It's woven throughout its body. It thinks with its arms. It sees with its skin. It lives in a world of texture, taste, and flowing color that we can only dimly imagine. The octopus isn't a lesser intelligence. It's a parallel intelligence. It's a reminder that the universe of minds is far richer and more varied than we could ever guess. This understanding naturally leads to radical empathy. The book forces you to look at any animal, from a crab on the beach to a bird in your backyard, and ask, what does the world look like from that perspective? What does it feel like to be that creature? It dismantles the easy assumption that other animals are just simple, reflexive machines, and replaces it with deep wonder and respect for countless forms of subjective experience that life has created. And finally, the book is a poignant love letter to the ocean. The author's dedication simply reads, "For all those who work to protect the oceans, the sea is life's cradle, the place where the first nerve cells fired, where the story of all minds began." And as Godfrey-Smith reminds us, this ancient creative world faces threats from overfishing, pollution, and acidification. To understand the octopus mind is to understand that we're connected to it, not just by a distant, worm-like ancestor, but by the shared home that created us both. To lose them, and the world they inhabit, is to lose part of our own origin story. So what can we take away from this incredible journey? First, the next time you find yourself near the ocean, or even just looking at a picture of it, pause for a moment. Remember that you're looking at the place where thinking began. Cultivate a sense of awe for that vast, creative, and fragile world. Second, practice looking at the non-human world with fresh eyes. Don't just see a spider. See a creature with a unique sensory world, a different set of problems to solve, and a different kind of mind. The book teaches us that the world is full of other minds, and paying attention to them enriches our own. And third, reflect on your own consciousness's nature. Notice your inner monologue, the stream of words shaping your thoughts. And then, for a moment, try to imagine what it would be like to think without it. To think with your entire body. The octopus gives us a reference point to appreciate the unique, and perhaps strange, way our own minds work. We've explored the depths together today, from the dawn of life to the octopus's garden. But this summary is like viewing the ocean from the shore. Peter Godfrey-Smith's book is the scuba gear that lets you dive in. If you felt a spark of wonder today, curiosity about these other minds, I encourage you to read the book for yourself. It's more than just a collection of facts. It's an invitation to see the world, and yourself, with new eyes. You can find a link to the book in the description below. Also, if this journey into the deep has brought you some value, please show your support by liking this video and subscribing to Billionaire's Bookshelf. It tells us we're on the right track and ensures you won't miss our next exploration into a book that can change your life. Thank you for listening, and let's continue to grow our minds together.